Let's go. That is exactly right. Yep. And I like the live intros. I like that. Much more personalized. Okay. Here we go. My goodness, is it January for crying out loud with the weather? Yes, I like that. I like that. I wouldn't mind if we go to that all the time with the live element. All right, 103, 103. We're going to be live and the real news is coming up. Yes. Oh, at least today we're not out again. Yes. I agree with that. I could make an argument for that. Can't believe this weather. Goodness. We are live with real news. Okay, yes, we're going to be doing road patrol. There's Donna. Hi there, Donna. There's Brenda. There's Lynn Miller. She's going to like, we got bridge info. That's right, Cheryl. There's Janice. Everybody share. Lisa, thank you again for the hot chocolate. Lisa Gothia, Santiago, thank you. There's Heather, big road patrol fan. And Jane Rice. There's Pat. Folks, we are ready to rock. Yep. Let me also just mention now, there some from time to time. Let's see, 104. Last night there was a problem where some of the moderators could not see the chat. Just so we're clear, I didn't touch anything. That is, it could be your phone, it could be the app. Maybe you need to redo the app. Maybe you need to update your phone. Just so you know, I'm not touching anything. No one's touched anything, so we can't fall into that. So I don't know what that was. Thank you, Lisa. I should do that more often. I like that. I like that someone thought to. People offer. Don't get me wrong. People offer, and many times I'm not like hanging around. All right, we're live in 1 minute, but just so you know, it has nothing to do. For instance, and I don't know what it is. I sometimes I look and see comments that are hidden, and last night, for whatever reason, Nancy McCormick, her comments it had nothing to do with me. We don't touch anything. It's listen, folks, it's very frustrating. I agree, it is. Yep. I don't know why it does that. I wish I knew. But like I've said, it's an app. There's a lot of different things that can come into play. And then same thing if for whatever reason last night, two of the moderators couldn't even see the chat. That had nothing to do with me. They're always working to improve it. It could be you need to delete it, re-download it, or maybe you need to upgrade your phone or just update your phone. All right, we're standing by. JR is going to give me the go ahead here, folks, on this chilly Wednesday, and it is. There it is, folks, at 106. You know, it actually feels good to not be out on the road, especially it was so cold the past few days. Right now, it is 106 on this Wednesday, December 4th. Yep, we're not breaking any news there. It's all day, December 4th. And we are live right now as we speak. We are live. Let's go through the list. AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Remember, when you're especially north of Providence, it comes in terrific. There's no problem with it. You can always listen online at the website, dpetro.com. Remember, the radio show starts at 11, goes until 2 o'clock weekdays, 3 hours. This part, of course, this is the real news within we simulcast, where we're live on right now Facebook and X and also on YouTube. So it does feel good to not be outside. This portion of the program is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Folks, they are talking about ready for the Christmas season. They are. And I think with this cold weather, it certainly enhances the Christmas feel, so to speak. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. The Christmas season is underway. Everything you need Fraser fir trees, which I like because they last. I mean, if you want to, there are still some people that keep their trees up till Valentine's Day. It'll last. Potted live trees, custom handmade wreaths, 10 and 60 inches in size, Christmas swag, mistletoe, hanging baskets, roping cut greens. You know what's amazing is, and I don't want to go too much on a tangent, the excitement of putting up the tree and decorating the tree, and even to this day, the depressing feeling taking down the Christmas tree. I just had a flashback to growing up in Edgewood. It's so sad when you have to take off the decorations and take down the tree. But anyhow, but that's not where we are right now. No, we are in putting up the tree. And they also have custom made sleighs by local artists. Firewood is available, pickup and delivery. They're open 7 days a week. Stop in and see them. This is where I implore you, get your wreath, get your tree, say thank you to them. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. And I'm happy to report they have been enjoying their best year ever. Best year ever. I'm not surprised. I'm thrilled. I'm glad. I'm proud to be a part of it. They are a delight to deal with. And it's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Now, speaking of a delight to deal with, I also want to thank our friends at the Coesit Inn, who are just terrific. Folks, they're with us 7 days a week, right? 12 months of the year. The Coesit Inn, proud sponsors of DePietro.com. We will have updates on the website later, especially we've had so much video lately, and I have to approve everything goes up and have been inundated with the crime wave. The Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick, lunch, dinner, drinks, and lounge. They have great gifts in the market at the Coesit Inn. The Coesit Inn. Now, we are, as I said, I mentioned all of our different platforms. I want to just start off. And I think this is an example where, for instance, right now, the local media is pushing a story from a comment that was made last night in Johnston. So bear with me. Actually, let me just check the weather forecast since I'm live at the moment. But last night, I mean, that I fully intended we were going to do road patrol, but suddenly we were in the middle of a snow squall. All right, it is, at least it's sunny out. It's going to be cold again tonight, and then rain tomorrow. All right. Well, all right. So no road patrol tomorrow night, but we'll still be live. We'll just do the one after dark. And then Friday, another cold day. God, I hate this cold weather. Sunny though, sunny, dry this weekend, high 35. Next week, at least it starts to get mild, although it's going to rain a lot next week, but at least the temperatures will be in the 50s. All right. So we have to get through. We'll be out tonight. Now, I want to give you an example, though, where sometimes the media can fuel a story and influence a story, and many times dictate a story. And what I'm talking about is, in this particular situation, let me just check. I know Channel 10 is pushing this, the team you can't trust, but I don't know if any of the other media is pushing this. I don't see it. And I am going to touch on Magritte and the bridge. Okay, it is Channel 10. It's Channel 10 that's pushing it. Johnston officials prepare for legal battle as affordable housing faces community pushback. So the person that everyone is quoting is this Robert Pingatore, member of the Johnston Town Planning Board. And what they're talking about, see, this is the progressive ideal that you have to be at a certain amount for, quote, affordable housing. And therefore, then they cram in these Section 8 housing units. And there's a development for something like that on George Waterman Road, includes 252 units of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. The plan would help Johnston meet Rhode Island's 10% affordable housing threshold as required by the state's Low Moderate Income Housing Act, which has completely destroyed and spread crime to the surrounding communities. But I want to play for you two things I want to play for you right now, because this is being driven by Channel 10. Boy, what a shock. The team you can't trust. And this is the comment that they're jumping on. And the reporter, I like her. I saw her the other night, I believe. It was either she was there at the standoff on Monday night, or I saw her Tuesday morning, the Smithfield Johnston situation. I think it was Monday night. But this is the line that they are jumping on and harping on, that was spoken by this, I don't think I know him. I may know him, Raymond Picatore.
Project is the future Chad Brown of Johnston. It's going to cause all kinds of trouble 20 years from now.
Okay, so there's
Democrats saying
they're
not happy that President Biden.
There's the comment. There's the comment that was made. Future Chad Brown. Now, I want to touch on that. As someone that I was just in Chad Brown, we cover crime there. So I am in and out of there. And much like I am in and out of more than anyone else in the media, those of you that watch Road Patrol, the people at the Hartford Avenue Housing Project, they know who I am. The people at Chad Brown, we were there the night of the task force. People came out. I ended up staying and having, a beverage with several of the people, selfies, pictures. Took a bunch of pictures with people that night. Thrilled. Salmon Street, off of Manton. No one spends more time in these projects, and that's why I want to comment on that. But I want to play for you that it's Channel 10 that's dictating now the story, because now there's a city council person who's speaking out and saying that that was a racist statement. But this was fueled by Channel 10 pushing the narrative that it was a racist statement. And I'm going to show it to you and prove it to you right now with the audio from this of New on the Night team, the team you can't trust, even though I did like seeing, I saw Patrice in Warwick recently. But listen, they certainly have an agenda. Let me just play. This is the, and you'll hear it.
Under the state's Low and Moderate Income Housing Act, but concerns of density, safety, and property values dominated the discussion Tuesday night.
I'm urging you to please shoot this down, as it is a serious threat to our safety in Green Valley Estates. All those additional children that could be there. Are you serious?
If that's the plan for in and out, that's not fair to any of us around there.
The George Waterman Road development includes 252 units of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. Attorney Kelly Salvatore represents the developers.
These are your neighbors who are going to be living in these units.
Salvatore found the board members' comments extremely disappointing.
Do you think the comments were strictly based off of income, or was there a racial undertone to them as well?
I didn't feel a racial undertone, but clearly when you mention historic properties in cities, I'd rather stay away from that.
Despite her defense, the opposition holding firm in a statement obtained by NBC 10.
It's Channel 10 that is pushing. Do you think this is racist? Based on the comments they made? Based on traffic flow? Number of children into the schools? So I want you to understand, it's Channel 10.
Bill Policina Jr. writes, quote, I am willing to use every resource necessary to support the will of the
Good. It's Channel 10 that's pushing the narrative, and it's because of Picatore saying Chad Brown. So I want to play that.
These are your neighbors who are going to be living in
these
units.
Salvatore found the board members' comments extremely disappointing.
Do you think the comments were strictly based off of income, or was there a racial undertone to them as well?
See, that's Channel 10 pushing that. And that's really important to know, because now there's a Providence City Council person who represents the Chad Brown area. And this is him and the brother. What's his name? Justin Rojas. Why am I having problems pronouncing that? Justin Here it is. Hold on. I just had it. Justin Royas. He's the one now that is saying, and he put out a statement, and Channel 10 is pushing this, is now saying, that, here it is. Providence City Councilor Justin Rojas, Royas, ROIAS, responds to the comments, calls them blatantly racist and unacceptable. So here's what he says. Blatant racist, unacceptable comment. Future Chad Brown of Johnston. Here's what the Providence City Council person says. Let's call it what it is, a cheap shot dripping with prejudice. Chad Brown is a thriving community filled with hardworking, resilient families who've endured enough stigma for existing in public housing. Let's not sugarcoat it for being black and brown. His comments are a textbook example of coded racism that keeps communities like Chad Brown unfairly villainized. Now, again, that's the council person. Now, again, as someone who, or let me say this, as someone, I was just at Chad Brown at the shooting 2 weeks ago. When you walk into, all right, let's stay with Chad Brown for a moment. I'm not going to get into Hartford Avenue. I'm not going to get into Salmon Street. Let's just stick with Chad Brown for a moment. Forget about any of the residents. So you walk in. Let's just say you walk in blindly. Here's what I find. And I frequently, consistently mention this when I am there on scene at a crime scene. There's trash. There's litter. There's graffiti. You don't even, before you see anyone that lives there, it doesn't have to look that way. They could keep it clean. It could be spotless, but it's not. So therefore, the comment, we don't want to turn it into, this is going to be another Chad Brown 20 years from now. Forget about anyone that lives there, whoever lives there. They certainly don't keep it up. It could be in much better shape than it is. And I often mention that. And I don't understand why. So I didn't know he's the council person there. Well, he has totally dropped the ball because it is completely unacceptable with the amount of litter and graffiti that goes on there. And it doesn't have to be that way. So forget about who lives there. The people that live there are not taking care of it. That's what the focus should be. And that's what I take the focus as. That it certainly, this isn't even a matter of, and let me say this, this should not be a matter of education or income. You don't live that way. You don't just throw trash on the ground. You don't throw bottles on the ground. You don't spray graffiti all over where you live. You know, there's always a difference between someone who owns a piece of property and someone that rents a piece of property. It's the same way how people treat a rental car compared to if you own the car, even though now most people lease. But I think you get the point. When someone becomes a homeowner, what do? They make sure, most of the time, but they make sure they cut their grass. They take care of it. Why? Because it's a huge personal investment. But when you just plop people down and other people are paying for it, much like a renter, renters, most of the time, they don't care. If you're a landlord, do renters, how they treat the property that they're in, they don't care for it the same way of someone who owns it. But just so we're clear, and I'm pretty willing to bet that this story maybe is not done yet, but this was fueled. The lawyer for the development, she wasn't making a racial argument. That was fueled by Channel 10. the team you can't trust. They're the ones that are fueling this. And now you have a Providence City Council person who is now inflaming it even more. So the fact of the matter is, notice that part, this business of the people of Chad Brown, they're not talking about the people. They're talking about the basic structure. And when do I travel into Chad Brown? When there's a crime scene, when there's a shooting, when the task force is looking to apprehend someone. But even then, you walk through it, it doesn't have to look that way. But you don't hear anyone mention anything like that. You know, I've even said when I have been in Chad Brown, and I am going to talk about the bridge in just a moment. Folks, I want to stay on schedule. This portion of our program is brought to you by Kids Club. Call them today. Kids Club on the Pike. Birthday parties, before and after school programs, preschool programs. Kids Club on the Pike. Perfect venue. Maybe you want to have a holiday party for a group of children. It's designed for children. It caters to children. It's safe. It's clean. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Located right on the Cranston-Johnston line, Plainfield Pike. It's Kids Club on the Pike, or it's perfect for maybe a hockey team party or end of season team. You're going to get a group of children together. They want to have fun. Maybe they run around a little bit. Maybe they roughhouse. Kids Club on the Pike is perfect for that. Look for them on Facebook. You can call them, as a matter of fact. But I share their Facebook page because it gives you a good idea of it. 401-443-5336. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Folks, the thing about, as I said, Chad Brown, I've often been amazed that less than 1 mile from Chad Brown is Providence College. And by the way, I don't know the answer to this, but if I were head of the city council, if I were the local counselor, I would try to work out something with the college to get many of the students there. You have all these college students and you say, hey, you want to do some good, or maybe, you did something at school, maybe some of the classes for extra credit, but let's get the students involved. And Chad Brown, as I have stated in the past, it could be immaculate. There could be no litter. There doesn't have to be graffiti. But you can't just then say, oh, if you criticize that, that's racist. As I have stated, when you enter Chad Brown, which I have and continue to, before you see anyone, and I've been there either late at night or early in the morning when you don't see anyone, before you see anyone, you have no idea who lives there. You look at the basic condition of it. And there are good people there. There are. I was in one of the units. They were encouraging me. They were saying to me, why don't you move here? Then you could be close to the crime. And then you could be here amongst us. And I was very flattered by that. And the people, again, they couldn't have been nicer. I'll say this. The unit that I went in at Chad Brown, it was spotless. It was immaculate. The family that lives there, are they? Yes, they are poor. And I don't mean that to be offensive. Yes, they are. And it's a single mother, and she has several children, and her sister lives with her, and they're doing the best they can. But I'll tell you, they keep it clean. It was clean, and they were very, very nice. Now, not everyone around them lives that way. But this has to, don't they understand? People are tired of that. When someone says they're going to turn it into another Chad Brown, and immediately this Justin Rojas, or however you pronounce that last name, these people, these two brothers, they're not even Democrats. They're socialists. They're communists. Everything with them is race. But just so everyone understands, and I hope Johnston understands that, this is being fueled by Channel 10. Because there was the Channel 10 reporter, and I see her out there, Leanna Falk, and I think she's a good reporter, and I see her and friendly to her to scene. But it was not the attorney saying it, and no one at the meeting said it. It was the Channel 10, and then they led with it. Janik and the whole thing. Oh, cries of racism. Here's the thing, cries of racism at a Johnston town meeting. The only cry of racism is coming from the TV station, the team you can't trust. And I'm going to talk about more of that in just a moment. But folks, I also want to, at 127, now listen, you have different choices for energy. And one of the choices that you can depend on is Propane Plus. Call them today, 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359. It's Propane Plus for your heating and cooling. The Johnston family, three generations, residential or commercial. You can depend on Propane Plus. Give them a call today, again, or log on to their website. They have a very user-friendly website. It's Propane Plus. Again, contact them today in Rhode Island. It's Propane Plus, 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. Well, folks, good afternoon. This is the real news. Next week is a big week. Next week is the 1-year anniversary of the closing of the Washington Bridge. Now, personally, it's also a big week for me because it's the 1-year anniversary since the chosen one put his faith in our Savior and the Messiah and underwent life-changing cancer surgery. Knock on wood, all seems to be well a year later. But it's coming up on the anniversary, and I want to remind people right now, there's a lot of speculation about what's going to happen with the Washington Bridge, and something that I think should be fairly obvious. And I'll say this: talking about, notice Channel 10, the team you don't trust. It's Channel 12. I want to give them credit. Channel 12 has been leading the last year with coverage about the bridge. As you know, and I have pointed out, the station down the dial, mckee, that still has on the DOT, that still has on Governor McGreed, they still run cover for him a year later, and they're still fully embedded with a completely incompetent administration. So I believe a year later, now it's also ironic, think of this. The traffic situation, the 195 failure of the Washington Bridge, it's not just an East Bay thing. It's impacted everybody. Today, people that want to go 95 north, there's going to start to be a backup at the Cranston line. And it's all because of the bridge. I experienced it on Thanksgiving Day. At night sometimes, it's brutal, let alone then you're going to have inclement weather. But 1 year later, not one person demoted, not one person fired, no one shown the door, no one brought in, no one brought out. Why would anyone think that anything would change? Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee. Now, I hear people say, gee, why is that? What's going on? Folks, the story is the same. Now, there are people that don't want to listen to many of the causes. There's root causes of what's wrong. But there are people that just don't want to own up to it. Justin Katz and I talk about it. What you need to understand, and I've been saying this for a year, over a year actually, but folks, Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee is a puppet to the unions and the special interest. They own him. Senate President Dominic Ruggiero, he stays in power. They control Rhode Island DOT. I know Peter Alviti. Personally, I like Peter. But no one has lost their job. How is John Igliosi still employed as chief of staff? We're not getting the full story of what's going on. I don't know with this crew if we ever would get the full story of what's been going on. But my point is, for anyone that wonders, how come nothing changes? Don't you understand? They all are controlled by the unions, by the special interest. Folks, as I have said, Rhode Island doesn't have to be that way. Rhode Island could be different, than Massachusetts and Connecticut. And I think actually if Helena Folks was the governor, that it would be a different place. I'll even say Mayor Smiley, if he wanted to. Providence doesn't have to just follow suit and just be another blue-run, Democrat-run city. Governor McKee has made it. There was a fork in the road, and he could have actually gone in a different direction. I want you to picture a state that all the states that are thriving right now have things in common. They're business friendly. They don't heavy government. They're not union controlled. Who are those states? What are those states? Florida, Texas, Tennessee, the Carolinas. The blueprints are there. Ohio, the blueprints are there for states that are business friendly, that are not dominated by the special interest. Rhode Island falls in line with Mass and Connecticut. New Hampshire is probably the best example of a New England state. Rhode Island doesn't have to be that way. The formula that Governor McKee and the state is on right now, let's not kid ourselves. It's a failed. The state is poorly run. They're gravitating towards the wrong people. Look at the companies. Do you think Elon Musk has the unions coming in and unionizing his workforce? That he's built? Texas is the #1 state in the country to do business. Do you think they're filled with all these union people that come in and start taking over their workforces? The answer is no. Silicon Valley out on the West Coast, all the big tech, do you think they're dictated by these people? The answer is no. Providence doesn't have to operate the way the rest of Mass and Connecticut do. Providence, if you had now listen, I give Mayor Smiley credit for some things, and I get it. I don't know what it would be like trying to govern, and Governor McKee is the governor. Folks, my point is, Rhode Island could be a beacon. Rhode Island could be, if you are, an entrepreneur, you're a small business person, you want to be a startup, you come here, this is who we're going to cater to. It's going to be this thriving place where people are making money and new companies are starting. And it's an incubator. And there's people making a fortune. And there's young people are making a ton of money, and they're flying private jets, and there's a helicopter pad. And the downtown is a thriving scene of new businesses and startups. And the restaurant scene is thriving, and the music scene is thriving. Providence should be emulating like an Austin or a Nashville, but they're not. They're doing the polar opposite. It's not business friendly. It's not friendly to anyone other than the union people that control it. And the best example, the proof is in the pudding, which is not one person has been fired from Rhode Island DOT. Not one. No one's been demoted. No one's made a cent less. Now, the problem with the bridge, which I want to touch on, and this is important, is, and I'm going to do it in just a moment. Folks, I want to remind you, it's still not too late. If you'd like to get your driveway or parking lot paved before the snow sets in. Now, it is going to be mild next week. And many times this month, you can still get things accomplished and done. But J. Perry Paving, call them for a free estimate, 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730, J. Perry Paving. They're licensed and insured, whether it's Rhode Island or Mass or Connecticut. J. Perry Paving. Get that driveway paved, get the parking lot paved. J. Perry Paving. Call them, free estimate, 401-732-1730. Folks, don't you understand that the Democrat Party is in ruins around the country right now? Totally. What do they stand for? The head of MSNBC is leaving. We are surrounded, both Rhode Island and Mass, by the way, in Connecticut, we are surrounded by people that have no pulse on government. We are surrounded by elected officials. They're not leaders. Gabe Amo congressman. He's not a leader. He's not. He just follows along. Sabina Matos was trying to get a job with the Harris administration. She thought she was going to be president. You know, they had the embarrassing get-together in Newport when that clown, the governor of Minnesota, came through. Don't you understand? Not only was this election rebuked, it's not just about Trump. It's about the people spoke out about this form of government. People are tired of it. And the moment somebody speaks out, Channel 10, oh, you don't want because it's racist. They don't want it because it's a slum. They don't want it because it's dirty. They don't want it because there's trash and rats and litter. That's what they don't want. Like, these people are so clueless. Is McKee back from vacation? Someone told me he was in Woonsocket last night. This is like the last person for the job. He doesn't have a clue what to do. They need to start slashing the state workforce. We are overtaxed, and as I have predicted, what have I been telling you on Road Patrol? That crime is spreading to the suburbs. And part of it is, you know, this ridiculous mandate that we need to have. You got to have equity and diversity. Like, everyone's rejecting that. No one wants that. Biden's a liar. Harris was like the worst candidate possible. But we're seeing it play out in Rhode Island. Governor McKee, who's defended down the dial and treated like, oh, the candy man. Oh, he's giving us free t-shirt. Oh, next week is our segment, Protect the Governor. Clown. He is a clown. He's not one of the worst governors. He's the worst governor. And I hear the whole thing. Well, we can't do anything because his pal holds down the fort in the afternoon. That's how pathetic they are down the dial. That Dan McKee, the worst governor in the history of Rhode Island, that one of his closest friends is given 3 hours a day to defend him and Biden. Don't you see McKee Matos is our version of Biden Harris. Dan McKee, it's the Peter principle. He doesn't know what to do because he doesn't know what to do. He's so far in over his head. He is Coach McKee. This guy needs to be fired. He's a thief. He's a crook. Lashing out at Nerona. Dan McKee is a classless. His policies are no policies. He has no backbone. He's not the right person, and he's certainly not a leader. He's not a leader. He's not a coach. Now, this week we have to hear he's so excited because the URI football team, good for them, has moved to the second round. So Coach McKee, it's just, they're so tone deaf. But I want to tell you about the bridge and the sad part about the bridge and what this means. Folks, as I have stated, the only thing that's going to really straighten this place out is it's going to have to come from Washington. And what I mean by that is because the policies here, and by the way, the same goes for Massachusetts. Governor Healy, $1 billion spent on people who have gone around the system and are not citizens. It's ridiculous. The mayor of Boston, we're not cooperating with ICE. These people are not, they're living in their own world. It's not the world that people are living in. That's not how people want to live. I've told you, look at the crime. FBI in Coventry, Warwick, 2-hour standoff yesterday. East Greenwich, drug addicts breaking into Section 8 housing and then injecting themselves in the ladies' room at CVS. This is insanity. McKee, no, we're not going to let that happen in Cumberland. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Watson Materials, 1500 South County Trail, East Greenwich. Call them. They are the most complete selection of landscape material in Rhode Island is Watson Materials, 401-885-0600. Take pride in your home. They can certainly help with the outside. It's Watson Materials, 401-885-0600, whether it's landscape lighting or pavers or retaining walls or natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Outdoor features, what a difference it makes with Watson Materials. The situation with the bridge where we have reached right now is it's so broken. Not only the bridge, but you can't get straight answers out of them. What has happened a year later is the whole element of communication and surrounding the bridge has broken down. People are saying now they're hearing that the whole bridge has to be closed. Now, I've heard that as well, but I can't get anybody really on the inside to confirm it. Keep in mind, last January, we did break the story that it was going to be a full demolition. I can't get anybody to fully come out and say that the bridge has to be closed. But I think the look at the damage. Does anyone really have faith? When anyone's talking about the bridge, you have to say, is there anyone that you feel has really given you accurate, dependable information on the bridge? The answer is no. The mayor of East Providence, Mayor De Silva, is being promised something if he will play ball. His community has been hurt really the most, East Providence. It's been decimated. Some people those of means have reacted to it. There are some companies that said, oh, I get it. No one from the East Bay is going to come to Providence, so we're going to open a Seekonk location. We're going to open a location over there. Not everyone can afford to do that. The quality of life over the next few months is going to be greatly impacted. You see companies that are leaving, and companies, more importantly, that are saying, I'm not dealing with that. We're not going to go into that. But right now, whether it's the mayor of East Providence, I will admit, I don't understand how you have all these opponents that are Democrats, Val Lawson and these other people. Folks, none of them are telling people the truth. I admit, I don't have an answer why the Rhode Island Republican Party did not come up with people to run against these people. Maybe they will in the 26th, the midterm. There's less turnout, which can benefit the Republican Party. Maybe that's what it's going to take. But none of those people should be in office. We have a complete breakdown. I don't think anyone connected to the bridge. The idea that Governor McKee is still thinking of running for re-election is foreign to me. I mean, it's absolutely an embarrassment. I'm not going to give a perfect analogy, but for instance, there's something wrong with the New York Jets. You know, you have all these talented players, and then you bring in Aaron Rodgers. There's something fundamentally wrong. Maybe it is the owner. Woody Johnston. There's something wrong when you have an organization that is not functioning properly. Now, you know, you watch for years, people, you know, we never thought the Red Sox would win the World Series. And then you brought in a new ownership group and they started doing things differently. And then you saw it almost like out of the box. And then the way the team progressed in 2002, certainly in 2003, and then winning the World Series in 2004. What I'm telling you is the people that are in place right now, they don't know how to be successful. Governor McKee and even the people he's aligned himself with. I don't know I don't know how the mayor of East Providence, Mayor De Silva, who has his background in law enforcement, I don't understand how is he really on board with all these progressive policies and all this? I don't even know what the policy is other than sheer incompetence that they're engaged in. To me, a big part of the problem with the bridge that can't be ignored, it comes down to who the governor is. It is. And we are saddled right now. And saddled is what it is for the next 2 years with someone that he doesn't even know It's not that he can't even get his agenda through. He doesn't have an agenda. He's just reactionary in these tough guy press conferences. With a problem with Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee is he thinks he has outsmarted everybody because he tells Channel 10 and Channel 12, yeah, I'll go on for 5 minutes, but it's got to be live and I'm leaving after 5 minutes. And then he has his little segment down the dial, protect the governor. You know, we'll only take certain questions. You're going to move it along. It's got to be live. And then he's basically protected from noon to 6. That's his version of he thinks he's winning and outsmarting everybody. Folks, the state is about to be turned upside down by the Trump administration. Do they not see that part of the new administration is they want efficiency? Elon Musk and Vivek are talking about government efficiency. Rhode Island shut down work on the bridge and it only cost us $700,000. They kept building and working on the bridge and then they had to knock it down. And Governor McKee said, well, that was only $40 million wasted. They educate illegals in our school systems and it's costing Rhode Island. How much does illegal immigration cost Rhode Island? The number is well over 500 million a year. Granted, no local media will do a story on it. But when you add up the cost per pupil, when you add up the cost of what does it cost with all these people that go to the emergency room that don't have health insurance, when you add up the cost of all these accidents, what is the real cost of all these illegals in the state? I'm telling you, it's close to 1 billion, if not over that. And no one will touch on it. Gee, why is there a housing shortage? They won't even touch on it. But let me say this at 149. This strategy isn't working. This system of government isn't working. Where the people that have the seat at the table, the people that make all the demands, are the wrong people. It's not the business community. It's the people that live off the taxpayers. That's what it is. All of these unions, the teachers union, all the other unions, the state workers union, where do they make their money? Off union dues, off who funds all these salaries? The taxpayers do. So it's your own money that's being used to negotiate against the people that are paying it. Does that make sense to anybody? The answer is no. Folks, it's got to change. Now, listen, with all this crime, I do want to remind you about Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Stop it and see George. Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Post Road in Warwick, right down from Route 37. Route 37, right down from Greg's. Post Road in Warwick, Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Pop in, see my gun guy, George. Tell him you're, friend of the program. He'll take care of you. It's going to get worse because as I've told you, the crime is spreading out. The crime's getting worse. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee, they're importing crime. They're importing crime into the state. Where do you think, as these illegals are being chased out of these different places, they're chasing them out of New York. The mayor of New York is saying, we're going to get rid of them. And you have Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee will provide sanctuary to you. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey, come to Rhode Island, come to Massachusetts. We're sanctuary states. We'll protect you. We're sanctuary cities, Providence and Boston. Folks, the crime's going to get worse. Wait till the caravans start coming up 95. Stop. Do me a favor. Stop it and see George, Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Post Road in Warwick, right there at Route 37, down the street from Greg's, Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Well, folks, good afternoon. Hey, just a reminder, if you want to improve your home or business, AJ Home Improvement, call them today, 401-323-9999. 9252. AJ Home Improvement. Frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes, additions, commercial rehabs, painting, remodeling. They do it all. AJ Home Improvement. Home or business. 401 323 9252. I wish I had better news for you on the bridge. I do. Hey, it affects me. We can't go to things in East Providence because then you could get caught over there. You know, it goes even beyond that. If there's an incident in the afternoon and it's either Providence or Pawtucket, I have to wait how much time as road patrol that we would be stuck in traffic trying to get there because traffic is so screwed up. But what is unacceptable is we're supposed to just accept that the people that let it get this way, that they're going to repair their way out of it. And they're not. They're incapable of it. Not one person has been suspended. Not one person has been docked their pay. Not one person has been terminated. It's the same. It's the definition of insanity. Why would we think that anything, would be amiss? Now, Ken Block, to his credit, look at that. Ken Block has unearthed that there's a Mattiello connection. Oh, there's a Mattiello connection. That a family member of former Speaker Nick Mattiello, who chased the Paw Sox out. That's what happened. He was Speaker, and he said, "You gotta pay up. If you want to build a stadium here, you gotta pay. There's a toll. I'm tolling you. Here's the amount. I'm going to give you a list of people that you're going to deal with." And the Paw Sox said, "Forget it. We're going to Worcester." Listen, I'm not even saying that was the worst thing, but at least it was something to have. It was some form of entertainment. The whole thing about the Paw Sox was the manner in which they were treated and the manner in which they were chased out, which is they were being shaken down. And look at how much the Paw Sox could have stayed and would have stayed for $27 million. Instead, Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee cuts a deal for this soccer stadium that is ludicrous on how much it's costing. Folks, but the bad news for the bridge is, look at this. A year later, they still claim that they don't know what happened. No one has been fired. And what I also find most frightening is, I believe there's been a complete breakdown in confidence, taxpayer confidence, that we're not going to get an answer. No one is being held accountable. Do we really believe that Dan McKee, do you really think he's going to level with you and say, here's what happened? No. He should have been indicted. I wish Peter Nerona, the Attorney General, had indicted him. Folks, I also want to remind you about our friends at Dreammaker. And it's very significant what happened. Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen, their beautiful design center, Greenwich Avenue. If you're listening or watching right now on this Wednesday and you're thinking of redoing your kitchen or your bathroom, you want to contact Dennis and Christina at Dreammaker, 401-433-7272. Now, yesterday, from 4 to 7, unfortunately, I was occupied, but they had a come and get a photo with Santa. They had an open house and a Santa. What I love about that is they are basically letting you know they celebrate Christmas. Think of this, in Rhode Island, so many under this Democrat administration, under this crowd, the whole crowd of, you don't say Merry Christmas, you say, season's greetings and this other stuff. That's the progressive mindset. You don't find that with Dreammaker. Folks, Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen, enhancing lives, improving homes. If you're thinking of improving your bathroom or kitchen, contact Dreammaker today, 401-433-7272. I share their Facebook page. What a difference it makes. Dreammaker. Well, folks, good afternoon. I wish I had better news to report. I don't know I want to just double check with, they're really going after Pete Hegseth. on whether or not he's going to be the head of the Pentagon. Wall Street Journal has reported that Governor Ron DeSantis is plan B for the Pentagon. That may happen. But something that just Hegseth on the brink, mother tries to save nomination. Something to watch is what happened in New York, where the that guy was gunned down in New York City in broad daylight. Did you hear? I mean, that is really, really shocking. There's a massive manhunt underway right now in New York for the shooting right at the Hilton Club residences in New York on 6th Avenue. I mean, that is the CEO of United Health fatally shot outside the Hilton Hotel. He was supposed to be, I think he was supposed to be speaking to investors, but that is a story that has really just rocked. I mean, right there in broad daylight. And I mean, that is frightening what happened. The CEO of United Healthcare, 50 years old, a targeted attack. He used a silencer, according to CBS New York. And they've released a photo of the suspect, a $10,000 reward. Police were on scene performing CPR on Thompson after the suspect carried out the attack, fled through a nearby alley. It's believed the suspect waited hours for Thompson. Some people say he waited overnight. 6:40 in front of the Hilton Hotel, discharged a firearm, striking the 50-year-old male victim. Whew, the attack was targeted. Wow, a masked gunman. Oh, they have video of the whole thing. I'm seeing it right now. Whew. I think that's him walking by. Yeah, it is. In the blue. Oh, he did use a silencer. That's why it's an odd looking, it's like a gun out of a movie. All right, folks, if you're listening to the radio, listen, Road Patrol later. Enjoy your Wednesday.